Hey guys, I want to make a quick little video, just a quick tip, sort of a beginner tip really for Photoshop users. If you've never used this before, I mean honestly I've used Photoshop for a long time. I've never really utilized this feature, but this is just a quick feature to find certain layers. So this actual design has a ton of layers in here, and it can be kind of hard to go through a bunch of folders and try to find certain layers. So I've never really used this little thing, and right up here, this little search engine in our layers panel. And so if you're like me, you've kind of ignored this, just kind of thinking whatever this is, I don't really need it. But when I started needing to find certain layers, I knew there had to be a system out there, and it was right here in front of me. So this is what it is. It's like a little drop down menu here, and basically you can find any layer whatsoever inside of your composition. So in here, again, I have a lot of folders and a lot of layers. So you can look for kind, name, effect, mode, attribute, color, smart object selected, artboard. So let's go through these a little bit. So the kind is probably the most useful. So you can say I'm trying to find a certain image, or really just like an image layer. Then you have any sort of clipping mask that you've added to your project. You can find them all right there. Any text layer, so this would be super helpful if you're using some sort of template or something, or if you need to make some quick edits. It's all just shows you all your text layers there. This is a any sort of shape layer right there, shows you all the shape layers, and then your smart objects right there. So that's super helpful for just finding certain kinds, kind of a really quick search there. Then you can go to name. So for instance, I know there's a lot of layers in here that are shadows for these little angels here. So I can just type in shadow because I know I called it a shadow. So I can go in and make all my tweaks there versus going in and out of folders left and right. So that's super fast, because otherwise I would have to go into, I guess it's probably main object, and then I got to go into all these angels and find all these shadows, and it's kind of a pain. So that's a great way to find certain things as far as what they're called. Then you have the effects. So this would be any sort of effect you add. So like drop shadows, or any sort of layer effect that you would add to it right there. So it shows me anything that has an effect on it. So I can click on that, and it'll show me right there. So super helpful there. Then you have mode. So this would be like any thing with a blending mode on it, I assume. So you would search for the kind of mode that you have. So if there's a multiply, all of these layers here have a multiply mode on them. So you could quickly go through those and change your blending mode. So you have them all right there. And we have, let's see what else we can do here. We can go to attribute. So then you can go to this little drop down here. You can say anything that is linked or clipped or has a layer mask on it, or even layer effects. That's another way to get to there. Anything that's locked, that could be super helpful if you're trying to move a layer around. Then you have, let's see, we have any kind of color. So if you label, if you want to label, like if I wanted to label all my shadows, a certain color, I could label them yellow. And so now I can say I'm looking for all my yellow layers, and they're all right there. So that's pretty cool there. I think that includes if it's like inside of a folder, it labels that as yellow as well. So we'll go and turn that off. So this is super helpful too. So this gives you pretty much any kind of smart object. So we have a linked smart object, or I guess like a Adobe Cloud smart object, your linked object. This is super helpful too. We use a lot of templates, and sometimes we have layers that are linked. And so if you are in here and you're getting some sort of error that it can't find a certain file, and maybe it's buried in some major folder way down the line, then you can click this, and this will show you, if there's any layers that are missing or unlinked right there. So that is super helpful there. And again, same thing here. If it's having a hard time finding a layer, both of those are super helpful. And then also your smart objects there. So that's a really helpful one, especially for using templates that may have linked layers that are missing. So then you have selected. So if you have any layers selected in here that you can't really find out where it is, it'll show you right there. And then I guess artboard, if you have like a ton of artboards, especially if you're doing some sort of print design, then you may try to track down an artboard. So we don't have any in this one, so that was not really helpful. But yeah, so that's just a quick little tip. You can go in there, and again, you can kind of turn off this little switch here. I guess if you don't need to use that at all, that's activated right there. So anyways, I feel like that's maybe could be super helpful if you're dealing with a lot of layers. All right, so that's just a quick little tip for you. Feel free to play around with that on your next project. Maybe you'll find that super useful. And thanks for watching. Bye.